Tyler Grant had everything. Fame, fortune, a tech empire in Seattle's skyline. But behind the designer suits and dazzling launches, he carried an ache no algorithm could fix. A decade ago, he walked away from Mia, the woman who softened his edges, and maybe from something more. One sunny afternoon at a crowded flower festival, Tyler pauses on a park bench to clear his head. That is when she appears. Ruby, a 10-year-old girl with wild curls and paper flowers in hand. "Daddy?" she says, holding out a delicate bloom. The world stops. Tyler laughs nervously until he sees the flower. Its folds match one Mia once made for him in college, down to the petal with a tiny star. Confused and shaken, Tyler buys every flower, but it's her eyes that haunt him. As questions build, he digs. Why does this girl resemble Mia? Why did Mia vanish without a word? And what role did Tyler's sister Laura play in all this? What he finds will shatter him and remake him. A girl's simple flower becomes the symbol of a past lost, and a future he never expected. Will Tyler win back the trust he unknowingly broke? Will Ruby call him Daddy again and mean it? Subscribe to see how one paper flower changed everything. The sun painted soft light across Seattle's Volunteer Park, dappling the pathways in gold. Tyler Grant sat on a bench near the festival's edge, phone in hand, unread emails piling up. He should have been at the launch event. His newest AI assistant was rolling out worldwide. But he wasn't there. Instead, he watched kids race between tulip beds and food stalls. A violinist played something wistful in the distance. Tyler ran a hand through his neatly trimmed hair, sighed, and dropped his phone in his coat pocket. His $6 billion company hummed without him. The silence around him, though, didn't. 10 years ago, he'd left love for legacy. Mia. Her name still echoed sometimes, low and sweet, like wind brushing an open window. He exhaled sharply. No sense in rewinding a decade. "Would you like a flower, sir?" The voice was small but bright. Tyler looked down. A girl, maybe 9 or 10, stood beside the bench holding out a paper bloom. Red petals folded neatly, a green stem twisted with perfect symmetry. She beamed. "I made it." He blinked. "That's really nice work." She tilted her head. "Do you want it?" He nodded slowly, reaching for his wallet. "How much?" "Just take it." She grinned. "But, Daddy, are you okay?" Tyler froze. The world blurred behind her. "Sorry?" His voice cracked. The girl's smile wavered. "You looked sad. That's what Mom says when someone looks far away." She paused, squinting. "You look just like him." Tyler stared. "Like who?" "My dad." He tried to chuckle, but it caught in his throat. "Well, I'm not your—" "I know," she said quickly. "I just pretend sometimes." Her fingers gently tucked the paper flower into his palm. "Bye, mister." She skipped away, red sneakers flashing, a box of folded blooms strapped to her shoulder. Tyler watched her weave between crowds, his chest suddenly tight. The paper flower rested in his hand. He studied it, then stiffened. On one petal, a small silver star was glued in the corner. He knew that star. Mia used to make those exact ones. On notes, on birthday cards, on the origami flower she folded the night they broke up, the one he never took. He stood abruptly, eyes scanning the crowd. The girl was gone. A tap on his arm startled him. "Sir, are you all right?" It was a festival worker, mid-30s, in a marigold apron. "Do you know that little girl?" Tyler asked. She was selling paper flowers, about this tall, curly brown hair. The worker smiled faintly. "Ruby? She sets up near the East Path every weekend. Sweet kid. Never asks for much." "Ruby." He repeated the name under his breath. The worker pointed past a row of booths. "She might still be near the rose garden, but she goes home early most days." Tyler nodded a hurried thanks and took off down the path. He found the spot easily. A small crate stood near the benches, half full with paper blooms, but Ruby was gone. All that remained was a handwritten sign. Paper flowers, 1 smile each. He stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, he took out his phone. He tapped a contact he hadn't touched in 8 years. The line rang. Voicemail. He tried another. His assistant. Sandra, I need a background check on a girl named Ruby, 10 years old, Seattle local, paper flower vendor. Check festival permits, vendor lists, whatever you can find. I want to know who her mother is. He hung up, still clutching the flower. A breeze caught the edge of the petal, brushing his thumb. Redemption, folded in paper. He hadn't planned on this. But he wasn't walking away again. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Tyler Grant's penthouse office. His desk, sleek and cold, overflowed with launch prep folders and contracts that suddenly felt irrelevant. He stood by the window, staring down at the city. In his hand was the paper flower, Ruby's. The silver star glinted in the light. Sandra, he said into the phone, tell me you've got something. Her voice crackled through the speaker. Found a permit filed for a vendor named Ruby Ann Carson, age 10. Minor license was signed by her mother, Mia Carson. His chest tightened. Address? Capitol Hill. Small walk-up. She's a florist, owns a home shop. Want me to— No, Tyler interrupted. I'll go. He ended the call and stood still, the city buzzing below. Mia. She hadn't changed her last name, and Ruby was Temten. The number hung heavy in his chest. By noon, Tyler was standing outside a narrow storefront with a painted wooden sign, Petal and Thread. Inside, plants crowded the windowsill. The scent of lavender drifted out when the door swung open. A woman stepped into view behind the counter. Brown curls pulled back, gentle eyes, worn apron dusted with pollen. Mia. She looked up and froze. Tyler, she whispered, barely audible. He took a breath. Hi, Mia. She didn't move. What are you doing here? I saw her, he said softly. Ruby, at the festival. Mia's eyes narrowed. You followed her? No, she found me. Gave me this. He lifted the paper flower from his coat. She called me Daddy. Mia went pale. Why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked. Is she— She's mine, Mia said firmly. And no one else's. He stepped closer. Is she mine too? She hesitated, then turned her back to him, fingers trembling as they adjusted a vase of sunflowers. I tried to tell you, she said, almost in a whisper, years ago, but Laura said— Tyler blinked. Laura? She called me after we broke up, said you didn't want kids, that your career was everything now, that I'd ruin your life if I told you. She turned slowly, pain etched in every line of her face. So I didn't. Tyler's jaw clenched. That's not true. I never said that. I know that now, Mia said, but back then, I believed her. A long silence settled between them. The only sound was the soft hum of a refrigerator and the faint rustle of dried eucalyptus. She deserves to know the truth, Tyler said, and so do I. Mia crossed her arms. You think you can just walk in after 10 years and claim a spot in her life? No, he said quietly, but I want to earn it. Just then, the bell above the door chimed. Ruby burst in, cheeks flushed from the sun, arms full of paper flowers. Mama, I sold out of— She stopped. Her eyes widened. It's you. Tyler smiled gently. Hi again. Ruby glanced at Mia. Why is he here? Mia knelt beside her. Sweetheart, this is Tyler. He's someone I knew a long time ago. Ruby stepped forward and opened her hand. A new paper rose sat in her palm, crafted in red and gold. I made this for you, she said shyly. I don't know why, but I just wanted to. Tyler knelt to her level. It's beautiful. Thank you. He took the flower with both hands, carefully, as if it were glass. Mia watched them, her breath unsteady. In Ruby's small gesture, something had shifted, something gentle and terrifying. Outside, a breeze stirred the petals hanging from the awning. The paper rose glowed in Tyler's grip, fragile and full of meaning. He looked at Mia. Please, let's not let the past decide everything. She said nothing, but for the first time, she didn't turn away. That night, Tyler sat alone in his apartment. Floor-to-ceiling glass wrapped around the living room, but all he saw was the reflection of the paper rose Ruby had made. He placed it beside the silver-starred flower from the festival. 2 tokens, 2 truths. He picked up his phone and stared at Mia's contact. Then he called someone else. Laura answered on the second ring. Ty, you missed the launch debrief. Investors are asking about you. I need to ask you something, he said flatly. Sure. Is everything okay? Did you ever speak to Mia after we broke up? His voice was calm, but his fingers tightened on the phone. There was a pause. That was 10 years ago. But did you? Laura sighed. Briefly. I was trying to protect you. Tyler's pulse kicked. What did you say to her? I told her the truth. That you were focused on the company. That a child would ruin everything you were building. His breath caught. You told her I didn't want to be a father? I said it because you didn't know how to be one, she snapped. You were barely keeping yourself together after Dad died. You think you could have handled a kid in a crumbling company? I had a right to know. She made her choice too, Ty. He ended the call. The next morning he returned to Petal and Thread. Ruby spotted him first. Mom, he's here! Mia appeared behind the counter, cautious. I need to talk, he said, privately. They stepped outside onto the narrow sidewalk under hanging baskets of baby's breath. I spoke to Laura, Tyler said. She admitted it. She told you not to tell me. Mia nodded, face unreadable. And now you know. She lied to both of us. You could have told me anyway. I was scared, Tyler, she said quietly. I was alone, and she said you'd shut me out, that I'd wreck your future. I would have shown up, he said. For you, for Ruby. But you didn't come back, Tyler, not even once. Her voice cracked. You left, and that was it. I regret it, he whispered. All of it. Mia looked away, arms folded. Inside the shop, Ruby worked at a small table with folded paper and markers. She pressed down a crease, carefully shaping a new flower. Tyler watched through the window. She's so bright. You did that, all on your own. Mia didn't speak. I'm not asking to take over, Tyler said. I'm asking for a chance, to be in her life, however small. After a long pause, Mia said, You can start with 1 afternoon a week. That's it. He exhaled, relieved. That's enough, for now. Later that day, they sat on a park bench together. Ruby pulled out a new creation from her basket. Look what I made, Tyler, she said, holding up a flower made from recycled newspaper, each petal edged with glitter. He smiled. It's beautiful. You can keep it, she said, eyes bright. It's for your desk, so you remember. He tucked it into his jacket pocket. I won't forget. Mia watched them from a distance, arms crossed but softer now. Ruby leaned closer. Can I call you Tyler? Or something else? His throat tightened. You can call me whatever feels right. She grinned. Okay. Tyler, now, but maybe Daddy, later. He laughed, a real laugh, the first in years. Above them, wind rustled the trees. The paper flower shifted in his pocket, light as air, a fragile promise carried by a child who had no idea how much she'd changed everything. And, for the first time in a decade, Tyler Grant didn't feel empty. He felt rooted, right where he was supposed to be. Tyler walked into his office the next morning, a rare smile tugging at his lips. His assistant raised an eyebrow as he passed. "Everything all right, Mr. Grant?" He paused. "Yeah. Actually, yeah." He entered the corner office, set down his briefcase, and pulled the paper flower from his coat pocket, the one Ruby had made with old newspaper and glitter. He placed it beside his computer monitor. It looked out of place next to the glass awards and metal sculptures, but it meant more than all of them. He was still staring at it when his phone rang. Laura. He let it ring twice before answering. "You dropped off the face of the earth," she said. "Missed 2 meetings and a Forbes interview." "I had something more important," he replied evenly. She laughed. "What's more important than a billion-dollar launch?" Tyler's voice lowered. "A girl. Her name's Ruby. She's 10, and she's mine." Silence. "Laura? Anything you want to say?" "You're not seriously buying that story," she snapped. "You haven't seen Mia in 10 years. She's probably using the kid to get back in." "I saw her. I saw the girl, and I saw her eyes. Same as Dad's, same as mine." Laura didn't reply. "I know what you told Mia back then," Tyler said, "and I know why." "What does that mean?" "You always thought I was too soft," he said. "Too easy to manipulate. You didn't want a kid distracting me, or splitting the company shares." "That's insane," she hissed. "I've done everything to protect this company." "No," Tyler said, voice cold. "You did everything to protect your position in it." He ended the call. Outside his office, the clouds shifted. Sunlight spilled through the windows. For the first time, Tyler didn't care about stock projections or press rankings. He cared about a girl who made paper flowers. Later that week, Mia cautiously agreed to let Ruby spend a few hours with Tyler at the park. Ruby was waiting on a bench when he arrived, legs swinging, hands working on a new design. "Look," she said, holding up a blue and white flower. "This one's a forget-me-not." "It's beautiful," Tyler said, kneeling to her eye level. "Do you name all your flowers?" "Sometimes. This one's for people who go away but come back." He swallowed hard. "Can I keep it?" She nodded. They sat together under a maple tree, the sun warming the grass around them. "Want to learn how to make one?" Ruby asked. He smiled. "Sure." She handed him a square of paper. "First, fold it like this." Tyler tried, but his fingers were clumsy. The crease was crooked. Ruby giggled. "You're not very good." "I code neural networks, but paper is my weakness," he joked. She leaned over to help. Her fingers were small and steady, her voice full of quiet patience. "Mom says flowers tell stories. Some are sad, some are new." "What kind is this one?" he asked. Ruby looked up. "This one's hopeful." A breeze fluttered her stack of paper. One petal blew toward Tyler's lap, landing gently. He picked it up, stared at the soft curve of its edge. Hope folded one crease at a time. As the afternoon wore on, they built a small bouquet of misshapen but heartfelt blooms. When Mia returned, she stopped a few feet away, watching them with a guarded expression. Tyler stood, brushing grass from his pants. "Thank you for trusting me." Mia nodded slowly. She was happy. "She makes it easy." Ruby rushed over. "Mom, look what Tyler made. It's terrible." Mia cracked a smile. "I see that." As they walked away, Ruby slipped her hand into Tyler's. He looked down, surprised, but didn't let go. Behind them, one of the flowers tumbled from the bench, caught by the wind. It landed gently at Mia's feet. A petal for forgiveness. A beginning carried by the breeze. Saturday came with gray clouds over Seattle, the kind that didn't pour but lingered like unshed tears. Tyler stood under a narrow awning at the Capitol Hill Community Center, scanning the open-air plaza. Ruby was already there, hunched over a folding table, folding paper petals in silence. Her brows furrowed in concentration, her tongue pressed to the corner of her mouth. Beside her sat a shoebox labeled "Donation Flowers." Tyler walked up slowly. Need an assistant today? She looked up, surprised, but then smiled. Only if you promise not to mess up the folds. He chuckled. No promises. He sat beside her and picked up a piece of sky blue paper. She handed him a template with little pencil marks. Fold along the lines, lightly. As they worked, he glanced sideways. Do you ever wonder about your dad? She didn't answer at first. Then, I used to ask Mom, but she said he lived far away, that he wasn't ready. He nodded slowly. That's true, but sometimes people don't know what they're missing until it stares them in the face. Ruby folded a petal. You stared at me pretty hard. Yeah, he said quietly. You changed everything. She smiled without looking up. Mom says I do that sometimes. A gust of wind knocked a few petals off the table. Ruby scrambled to catch them. Tyler stood, grabbing a sheet before it blew down the street. Across the plaza, Mia arrived, holding a small tray of lemonade cups. She handed one to Ruby, then offered one to Tyler. She made them herself. He took it, nodded. She's good at making things. Ruby beamed. Mom helped me decorate the cups. Look. Each paper cup had a petal glued on it, tiny, hand-folded hearts that bloomed around the rim. Tyler stared at his cup. These petals, they're perfect. Ruby sipped her drink and leaned back. Do you think people can fold their hearts too? Like, change them? Mia looked up sharply, but Tyler didn't hesitate. I think they can, he said. Sometimes, it just takes the right hands. Later, as the sky began to clear, Ruby brought over a new flower. She held it up to Tyler. This one's different, she said. It has 5 layers. I made it after you left the park the first time. He reached out. Can I keep it? She hesitated. Only if you really want to stay. I do, he said, voice steady. I'm not going anywhere. She placed the flower in his hand. 5 soft layers. 5 weeks she'd waited. 5 chances he had to walk away. But he hadn't. Mia watched, arms crossed, emotions flickering in her eyes. Tyler turned to her. I know I hurt you, and I know it's late, but I'm trying, Mia. She nodded once, her voice low. I see that. The 3 of them sat in the quiet for a moment, the wind rustling the tablecloth, petals fluttering like tiny flags. A woman passed by, dropping $1 into Ruby's box. Beautiful flowers, honey. Ruby smiled. Thanks. He made that lopsided one. Tyler raised his hand. Guilty. The woman laughed. Not bad for a dad. Ruby didn't correct her. She just looked at Tyler and didn't let go of the next flower she folded. As they packed up, Tyler reached for one of the empty crates. A small note fluttered out. He caught it before it hit the ground. In Ruby's handwriting, love folds, even if it starts as a crease. He stared at it, heart thudding. Some truths don't shout. They just wait until someone's finally ready to unfold them. The next time Tyler saw Ruby, she brought something new. A little journal, the size of her hand, its pages thick with pressed petals and folded notes. I keep flower stories in here, she said proudly. Every flower I make has a story. Tyler flipped through slowly. One page held a yellow bloom with a tiny heart drawn in the corner. Underneath, it read, For people who wait too long, but still come back. He paused. This one? Is it about me? Ruby shrugged. Maybe. They sat on the steps outside Petal and Thread, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. Tyler glanced at Mia through the window. She was trimming roses for a customer, her movements quiet but firm. I want to do something, he said suddenly. For both of you. Ruby perked up. Like what? He smiled. A flower class, free for kids, with real supplies. Maybe a room at the community center. Her eyes lit up. You mean, like a real class? Not just paper and tape? With you as the teacher, Tyler said. And I'll help too. She threw her arms around him without warning. Best idea ever. Inside, Mia looked up, catching the moment. Later that evening, Tyler sat with Mia on her apartment balcony. It overlooked the city's heartbeat, glowing lights pulsing beneath a purple sky. "You don't have to do this," Mia said softly. "You've already done more than I expected." Tyler shook his head. "It's not about proving anything. I missed 10 years of her life, I can't fix that, but I can be present now, for her, for you." Mia folded her hands, hesitant. "You were gone a long time." "I was scared," he admitted, "of messing everything up, of becoming my father, so I left before I could try." She looked at him. "But you're here now. That's all I want, a chance to stay." There was silence between them, but it wasn't heavy, just honest. Back inside, Ruby brought out 3 folded flowers, one red, one gold, one soft white. "This one's Mom," she said, pointing to the gold. "Strong, but quiet." She held up the red. "This one's you, fast, busy, loud. And this," she said, placing the white one between them, "is me, small, but gluey." Tyler laughed. "Gluey?" She nodded. "I keep things together." He looked at the white flower, soft creases bending into perfect symmetry. She wasn't wrong. That night, after Ruby fell asleep on the couch with paper scraps in her hands, Mia walked Tyler to the door. "She likes you," she said. "I like her more than I ever thought possible," he replied. "She's got this light." Mia hesitated, then reached into a drawer by the door. She pulled out an old envelope, yellowed at the edges. "I never sent this," she said. "It was meant for you, after Ruby was born." He opened it slowly. Inside was a photo. Mia holding a newborn, wrapped in a red blanket. Behind her, taped to the hospital wall, was a small paper daisy with a silver star in the center. His throat closed. "I wanted to tell you," Mia whispered, "but after what Laura said," Tyler's voice was low. "She lied to both of us, but we're here now." He looked at the photo one last time, then at Mia. "I'll be at the park tomorrow," he said, "with supplies. Tell Ruby to bring her stories." As he stepped into the night, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Direction, not in profit, but in purpose. The white flower Ruby had given him rested in his jacket pocket, crinkled at the edge. Gluey, she'd called it. She didn't know how right she was. A week later, Tyler returned to the community park with the 2 large totes in hand: paper packs, glue sticks, markers, ribbons, and folding templates. He'd canceled a board meeting that morning. No regrets. Ruby was already there, setting up her usual crate and folding table. When she saw him, her face lit up. "You came!" she shouted, running over. He knelt, grinning. "Told you I would." She peeked into the totes. "Whoa, this is like flower paradise." "Class starts in 20 minutes, he said. "And guess what? You're the head instructor." Ruby stood a little taller. "Can I make name tags?" "You're the boss." Soon, 5 kids gathered under the tree where Ruby usually sold her flowers. Mia sat on the edge of the lawn, watching, arms resting on her knees. Tyler waved to her, then turned back as Ruby passed out squares of pastel paper. "This is the heart fold," she explained. "It's how you start every flower, even the spiky ones." Tyler sat among the children, struggling through his 3rd attempt. A little boy beside him laughed. "Yours looks like a crumpled burrito." Tyler grinned. "Fair, but I'm learning from the best." As class wrapped, each child placed their flower into a shared bouquet vase labeled "Today's Garden." Ruby carefully inserted a bright orange one. "This one's for second chances." Tyler looked at her. "Can I ask something?" "Sure." "What made you come up to me that first day, at the festival?" Ruby thought for a second. "You looked lonely, like someone who used to laugh but forgot how." His heart squeezed. I think you helped me remember. Later that afternoon, as Ruby packed up the leftover paper, Tyler stepped away and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Caleb," he said when the voice answered. "You still have that old storage drive? The one with my deleted inbox from 2013? Yeah. Why? Can you send it to me? All of it." Back in his penthouse that night, Tyler opened the files, years of ignored outreach, auto-archived messages, until one caught his eye. From mia.carson@gmail.com. Subject, "You deserve to know." Date, March 4th, 2014. He opened it. The message was short. A few lines. Mia's voice trembling through words. "Tyler, I don't want anything from you, but I'm writing because I think you deserve to know you have a daughter. Her name is Ruby. She's healthy, she's bright, and she looks just like you when she sleeps." Tyler stared at the screen, throat tight. The email had been opened, then immediately forwarded to Laura. His hands shook as he pulled up Laura's old company email. There it was. Forwarded. Handled. "She won't contact you again. Focus on your IPO." He leaned back, fists clenched. Handled? She'd erased a decade of his life with one reply. The next morning, Tyler returned to the shop early. Mia was watering marigolds near the window. "I read the email," he said quietly. She turned slowly. "So, you saw it." And Laura's response? Mia's face hardened. "I told her not to speak for you, but when you didn't show—" "She never told me," Tyler said, voice raw. "She deleted it, forwarded it to herself, told me I needed to stay focused." Mia's eyes filled, not with anger, but something deeper, tiredness, grief. "I blamed you," he said, "for so long." She wiped her hands on her apron. "And I blamed myself for giving up." He stepped closer. "We lost so much time, Mia, but I'm done losing." A small tap interrupted them. Ruby stood in the doorway, holding a folded flower between two fingers. "I made a new one," she said. "It's called a brave bloom. It only opens when people stop hiding." She placed it on the counter. Neither of them said a word. The petals unfolded slowly on their own. Light pressed through the window, catching the crease of every single fold. The next morning, Tyler sat in his office staring at the forwarded email chain. Laura's cold reply still glared on the screen. Handled. "She won't contact you again. Focus on your IPO." He picked up his phone and called her. "Morning, little brother," Laura said sweetly. "Finally back at work?" "Cut the act," Tyler said. "I know what you did." A pause. "I found the email. From Mia. March 2014. You intercepted it, deleted the rest, lied to both of us." Her tone shifted. "I was protecting your future." "No, you were protecting your own stake in my future. You were vulnerable, Tyler. A baby would have ruined everything. You had just pitched to investors. We were 2 months from scaling." His voice stayed level. "That wasn't your choice to make. She was trying to tell me I had a daughter." Laura sighed, annoyed. "So, what now? You gonna tear down everything we built over some craft paper and a 10-year-old fantasy?" Tyler stood from his chair, fury bubbling just beneath the surface. "No, I'm going to fix what you broke, and if you ever interfere with my family again, I'll remove you from the board. Permanently." Silence stretched. "You wouldn't," she said. "I already drafted the motion." He hung up. That night, Mia was locking up the flower shop when Tyler pulled up outside. His car door slammed, and the air between them held something heavier than before. "She manipulated everything," he said. "She blocked the one thing that could have changed my life." Mia stepped closer, her expression softening. "I know. I read her email too." He looked at her, eyes red. "I let you believe I didn't care." "You didn't know," she said. "I should have known something was off." I should have called again, visited, done anything, but I disappeared. You were grieving, she said gently. Your father had just passed. Your company was falling apart. He shook his head. That doesn't excuse 10 years of silence. Ruby's voice called from the apartment upstairs. Mom? Tyler? They looked up. She stood on the balcony, a folded paper bird in her hand. I made something, she shouted. Come see. They went upstairs, hearts still heavy. Ruby sat at the small kitchen table, where glue sticks and colored paper spilled across a mat. She held up the bird. White wings, red spots, and a tiny heart drawn on its chest. This is for when things fly away, and still come back. Tyler knelt. Can I keep it? Ruby smiled. You're supposed to give it to someone when you forgive them. He looked at Mia. Ruby followed his gaze, then gently pressed the bird into Tyler's hand. You two can share it. That night, after Ruby went to bed, Mia poured them each a cup of tea. The steam curled into the quiet space between them. I didn't think you'd fight for this, she said. I didn't know what I was missing, he replied. You still want to be part of her life? Every day, he said, even the hard ones. She stirred her tea. It's going to be messy. I don't care. Mia looked at him, long and steady. You still wear your heart like a suit, polished on the outside, cracked underneath. He gave a small smile. She's patching it, one flower at a time. She glanced at the paper bird on the counter. I never stopped believing you'd come back, she said. I just stopped hoping. Tyler whispered, Can I earn it back? That hope? Mia didn't answer right away, but her hand reached for his across the table and didn't pull away. The paper bird fluttered slightly from the counter, caught by a draft from the open window. It landed on the floor beside them. They didn't move. They didn't have to. 2 days later, Tyler walked into the Seattle Makerspace Center, a wide, sunny loft lined with craft tables, tall windows, and bins overflowing with colored paper. He'd rented the entire second floor. Ruby ran in behind him, clutching her favorite paper scissors. Is this really ours? She gasped. He grinned. Yours, officially. I just signed the lease. Mia stood at the doorway, stunned. Tyler. This is huge. He turned to her, handing over a folder. Flower and Fold Workshop, co-managed by Ruby and Mia Carson. Full funding from Grant Tech's community arm. You did this without telling anyone? She asked. I canceled a product demo for this, he said with a shrug. It felt right. Ruby dashed to the center of the room. We can teach 100 kids. Here. We're starting with 20, Tyler said, chuckling. Let's not cause a paper shortage. He watched her run from table to table, already planning where the petals and story journals would go. In that moment, she looked more powerful than any investor he'd ever pitched to. Mia leaned against the window ledge. You really skipped your launch? I had 2 options, he said, voice low. Another million, or her first workshop. She looked at him for a long second. That's the version of you I missed. Outside, a few neighborhood kids peeked through the glass. Ruby waved. We're opening tomorrow. That night, as they finished prepping the space, Tyler found Ruby sketching something in her journal. A single folded paper rose sat on the table beside her, red and white with a gold thread stem. I made this one special, she said. What's it for? He asked. For you, but only if you promise not to miss the first day. He smiled, placing a hand over his heart. I'll be here before you unlock the door. Good, she whispered, because this flower's called Stay. The next morning, Tyler walked into the workshop at sunrise. He swept, arranged chairs, and left a handwritten welcome note at each station. Then came the message, from Laura. Board called an emergency vote. We're freezing your equity disbursement. They think you're unstable, distracted. You skipped a product launch for paper flowers, Tyler. He read the words slowly, then deleted the message. An hour later, kids began arriving. Some with parents, others clutching crumpled sheets of origami. Ruby greeted each one by name, handing out little badges shaped like tulips. Mia stood behind the front desk, watching it all unfold with wonder and disbelief. Tyler stood near the door, arms folded. A quiet pride bloomed in his chest. At noon, Ruby called the group together. Today's lesson is the forgiveness fold. It's tricky, but if you mess it up, that's okay. You just try again. She held up the rose she'd given Tyler. See this? It took me 4 tries. A boy raised his hand. Did you cry? Ruby laughed. Yes, but then I kept folding. Tyler couldn't look away. In her voice, he heard something deeper than craft. He heard healing. After the class, Tyler walked Mia out to the sidewalk. The kids stayed inside, chatting and folding under Ruby's careful eye. She was born for this, he said. Mia nodded. And you helped build it. Tyler turned to her, hand gently touching hers. Not just this space. I want to be part of all of it. Every festival, every flower, every messy Tuesday night dinner. She didn't pull away. Inside, Ruby held the paper rose again. She turned to the window and saw them, standing close, laughing softly. She pressed the flower to her heart. Outside, petals taped to the door fluttered in the breeze. Each bore a word: hope, home, stay. And for the first time, they all belonged to the same story. It was the last day of the first week at Flower and Fold. The workshop buzzed with energy. Paper rustled, kids laughed, and the scent of glue and citrus cleaner hung in the air. Ruby stood at the center table, folding with her usual focus. Today's lesson was the spiral tulip. Complicated, beautiful, worth the effort. Tyler crouched beside her, trying not to mangle his 6th attempt. You're getting better, Ruby said, inspecting his work. High praise from the flower boss. She smirked. I'm thinking about promoting you. To what? Official Petal Protector. He laughed, but then her tone softened. You're here every day. I said I would be. She held up her latest bloom, rich purple with gold trim. This one's for people who come back, even when it's hard. Tyler's smile faltered. You think I've earned it? She nodded, slowly. I think you're trying. As class wrapped, Mia entered with a thermos of iced tea and a folded note in her pocket. She watched Tyler help clean glue spills, wipe scissors, and tape a lopsided petal back into shape. After the last student left, Ruby approached them with something cupped in her hands. I've been working on this all week, she said. For you. She turned to Tyler, then to Mia. In her palms sat a paper rose, layers of soft pink, red, and white with one golden petal in the center. It's called Family Rose, she said. Because it's made from everyone's favorite colors. I want it to stay with us. Tyler's voice caught. You made this? Every fold, Ruby said proudly. Even the twisty part. He reached out carefully. Then I'll take care of it, always. Mia watched him cradle the rose like it was something alive. That evening, they walked to the park just as the sky turned soft with dusk. Lanterns blinked on along the path, casting gold on the gravel. They settled onto a bench, Ruby between them, the rose nestled in her lap. I never thought we'd be sitting like this again, Mia said, her voice almost a whisper. I thought I'd lost the chance, Tyler replied, but maybe this is our second bloom. Ruby tilted her head. Flowers don't bloom twice. Some do, he said. The ones that are cared for. She leaned into his side. Like us? Exactly like us. Mia pulled the folded note from her pocket, hesitating. Then she handed it to Tyler. It was her own letter, never sent, dated 4 years ago. I still see you in her eyes. Every time she folds something new. Every time she asks a question you would have asked. I don't want money. I don't want apologies. I just want peace. For her. For me. For you, if you ever want it. Tyler stared at the ink, blurred slightly from time. You kept this? I almost mailed it, Mia said, but something always stopped me. He folded the paper again, gently. I'm glad you didn't, because now I can respond in person. He reached into his jacket pocket and took out a blank sheet, then began folding, hands steady. Ruby leaned closer. What are you making? A promise, he said. In silence, he creased and shaped, tucked and pressed, until a simple white lily appeared. On one petal he wrote, I will not leave again. Ruby's eyes widened. We're going to need a flower jar for these. We'll fill one together, Mia said softly. And as the sun dipped behind the trees, the three of them sat on the bench, hands touching, flowers between them, past unfolding into something new, something fragile, but finally real. A few days later, Tyler stood in the quiet of his penthouse, staring at a small glass jar on his kitchen counter. Inside were 4 paper flowers. Each one Ruby had made. Each one meant something. Stay, hope, family, promise. His phone buzzed. Laura. He let it ring once, then answered. What do you want? He asked, voice flat. Damage control, she said briskly. The board's panicking. Your press absence is raising questions. I've scheduled a leadership summit to reassure investors. I'm not coming. A pause, then, sharper. You've lost focus. You're letting sentiment derail your legacy. No, Tyler replied. I'm finally defining it. He hung up. Later that afternoon, he walked into the workshop where Ruby was helping a younger girl fold Petal corners. Mia was refilling glue pots at the side counter, humming. Ruby waved him over. Dad, come help with the folds. That word still caught him. Soft, brave, real. He sat down, taking the paper gently. The younger girl pointed. Mine always rips. Sometimes the paper's too dry, Tyler said. Try breathing on it first. Loosens the fibers. Ruby grinned. You're getting really good at this. Got a great teacher, he said, nudging her shoulder. After the class ended, Ruby handed Tyler a new flower. This one shaped like a bell, its center layered with tiny lines of gold ink. It's a listening flower, she said. Each petal is a thing I wanted to say but didn't. He turned it over, reading. I waited. I dreamed about a bench with 3 people on it. I hoped you'd come back, but I wasn't sure how you'd know me. I called you Daddy because I just felt it. Tyler's breath caught. Ruby. She looked down. You don't have to keep it. I want to, he said, voice thick. More than anything. Mia came up behind them, her eyes scanning the gold lettering. She wrote every line herself, she said softly. That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. The petals kept echoing in his mind, words folded in silence for years. He walked to his home office and pulled open a dusty drawer. Inside, a locked file box. He hadn't opened it since his father died. The key still worked. He rifled through old papers, notebooks, sealed letters, until he found a spiral-bound journal, his own from college. Near the back, scrawled in a younger hand, he'd written, Someday, I want a little girl who makes things. The next morning, Tyler invited Ruby and Mia to his office downtown. Not the penthouse, his actual headquarters. They entered the glass tower, eyes wide. Why are we here? Ruby asked, clutching her notebook. I want to show you where all the ideas started, he said, but more importantly, where they end up. He led them into the innovation wing, once cold and corporate, now covered in child-drawn flowers, thanks to a company fundraiser Ruby helped host. On a wall sat a plaque. The Ruby Grant Initiative for Creative Futures. Mia stopped cold. You named this after her? She inspired it, Tyler said. It'll fund community spaces for arts and invention. Not just code, creation. Ruby reached up, touching the plaque. "I like it," she whispered. Back home that evening, the jar on Tyler's counter had 6 flowers. The 6th, folded by Ruby before bed, was the simplest yet, plain white, no color. But when he opened it, inside was one word: begin. And for the first time in years, Tyler Grant didn't feel like he was running from the past. He felt like he was starting something that finally had roots. It started with a knock at Tyler's door. When he opened it, a courier handed him a manila envelope marked confidential. No return address, just a single line scrawled in black ink. You should know who really kept her from you. Inside were printed screenshots, emails between Laura and a private investigator, dated a decade ago. One line stood out. "Find where she moved. If the baby's his, I want them quiet, permanently. He can't afford distractions." Tyler's hands trembled. He flipped through more. Photos of Mia leaving the doctor's office, Ruby, barely a toddler, tugging at her skirt, all time-stamped, all hidden. He dropped into a chair, numb. His sister hadn't just intercepted one message. She'd tracked them, monitored them, lied to him for years, all for control. That night, after Ruby went to bed, he showed Mia the file. She read silently, her jaw tight. "I had no idea it was this deep," he said. "She made you disappear on purpose." Mia exhaled slowly. "I used to think I was paranoid, but after Ruby was born, I just wanted to stay safe." "She crossed every line." Mia looked up. "So, what are you going to do?" Tyler didn't answer right away, but the next morning, he walked into the Grant Tech boardroom holding that same envelope. Laura was already seated, dressed sharp, surrounded by allies. "Late," she said, without looking up. "I'm here now," he replied. She glanced at the envelope in his hand. "What's that?" "Truth," Tyler said, "and your resignation." A hush fell over the room. Tyler placed the documents on the table, flipping them open for all to see. "I know what you did," he said, eyes locked on hers. "You didn't protect me. You manipulated me. You cost me 10 years with my daughter." One of the board members leaned forward, reading. This is serious," he muttered. "Laura, is this real?" Laura's face twitched. She opened her mouth to deny, but the words wouldn't come. "I'm not here for revenge," Tyler continued. "But you're done here, effective immediately." The vote was unanimous. Later that day, he picked Ruby up from her after-school art program. She held up a colorful folder. "Look what I made, Dad." He smiled, relieved to hear the title again. Inside was a drawing, 3 stick figures under a flower arch. One had his glasses, one had Mia's smile, and one held up a paper rose. "That's us," Ruby said. He pulled her into a hug. "You have no idea how much I needed this." Mia met them outside, hand slipping easily into his as they walked toward the car. That evening, Tyler added another flower to the glass jar. It was a simple, soft blue one, folded from the same paper Mia used at the workshop. On the petal, Ruby had written a single word: truth. He stared at it for a long time, then placed it carefully between stay and begin. The next morning, Ruby found him at the kitchen table, sipping coffee and rereading her drawing. "Do you think paper flowers last forever?" she asked. He thought for a second. "Not the paper, maybe. But the meaning? Yeah, that lasts." She grinned and pulled out a new sheet. "Then let's keep folding." And as she creased the first corner, the early light caught her cheek, and Tyler knew, with absolute clarity, that what Laura tried to bury had only made them bloom stronger. 3 months later, the old greenhouse on Mercer Street stood transformed. Where broken glass once caught the rain, new skylights gleamed. Where weeds crept, fresh lavender and chamomile bloomed. The air smelled like sun-warmed soil and orange zest. Tyler stood outside, arms crossed, staring up at the wooden sign now mounted above the door. Petal House, a garden for growing hands. Inside, laughter rang out as children folded lilies, daisies, and tulips from bright paper. Pots lined every shelf, holding both real and crafted blossoms. Mia ran the front table, helping a mom sign her daughter up for the after-school class. At the far end, Ruby sat cross-legged on a rug, teaching a younger boy how to curl petal edges without creases. "Go slow," she said. "Flowers aren't in a hurry." Tyler knelt beside her, handing over a fresh pack of colored paper. "You've got a full class today." "Every spot's full," Ruby said proudly. "Even the wait list." She pointed toward the wall, where a new mural stretched, flowers drawn by each child. In the center, a giant paper rose with golden tips, the same as the one Ruby once gave him. "That one's for you," she said softly. "It means you helped it grow." He looked around. Parents watching through the glass, kids chatting over crafts, the scent of damp earth and glue sticks in the air. "You helped it grow too," he replied. "More than anyone." That weekend, Tyler hosted the first Community Bloom Festival in the garden. Booths lined the sidewalk, each one run by a child from the workshop. One sold bookmarks folded like orchids. Another offered seed packets wrapped in painted leaves. Mia organized the schedule, clipboard in hand. "We've got Ruby's storytelling hour at 1, the folding race at 2, and the parents' petal contest at 3. "I'm in the petal contest," Tyler said, feigning confidence. She raised an eyebrow. "You sure? Last time you glued your fingers together." He grinned. "This time I brought tweezers." The event buzzed with life. A local news team arrived, capturing footage of Ruby explaining the difference between mountain folds and valley folds. Tyler pulled aside the reporter afterward. "Can I add something?" he asked. She nodded, mic still rolling. "This place," he said, gesturing to the garden behind him, "wasn't built by me. It was built by a little girl who believed folding paper could change the world." That clip went viral by Monday. By Friday, 2 schools called asking if they could partner with Petal House for creative therapy programs. On Saturday, Ruby opened a donation envelope with Mia and Tyler watching. Inside was a check and a note. "Every petal you fold is a story unfolding. Let them bloom everywhere." Signed, a woman from Chicago who had watched the video online and now wanted to start her own version of the workshop. That night, as the sun dipped low over the garden, Ruby stood in the middle of it all, watching candles flicker in jars beneath the flower mural. Tyler came up behind her. "Pretty amazing, huh?" She nodded. "It feels like a dream, except it's real." He wrapped an arm around her shoulder. "That's what happens when you grow something with love." Mia joined them, setting down 3 paper daffodils on a table. "Last ones for the night." Ruby smiled. "Tomorrow, we fold again." Tyler leaned in close. "Let's make one more tonight. Just us." So, in the quiet glow of the string lights and hope, the 3 of them sat on the garden floor, cutting, folding, laughing softly. One petal at a time, one promise at a time, one family blooming in full. The festival returned, just as Ruby hoped it would. Tyler, dressed in jeans and a soft linen shirt, stood under a booth tent surrounded by children laughing, folding, gluing petals. The garden overflowed with color, paper and real blooms side by side. Banners fluttered, painted with kids' names and flower sketches. Music floated gently from nearby speakers. Mia adjusted flower crowns on 2 girls by the mural wall. Her eyes found Tyler's. He smiled. She smiled back. No words needed. Ruby sat at the center of the plaza, leading the family fold station. "Today," she announced, "we're making dream blossoms. Each petal's a hope, and every family makes one together." A little boy raised his hand. "Even if you don't have a dad?" Ruby paused, then smiled gently. "Then you fold with someone who loves you. That's what makes a family." Tyler walked over, sat beside her. "Mind if I help?" She handed him a folded base. "You get the last petal." He took the strip of purple paper. "What do I write?" Ruby pointed to a basket of words. "Pick one that fits." He scanned the basket, then wrote belonging in careful ink. She glued it on, sealed it with a dab of gold paint, then held the flower up high. Everyone clapped. Later, they pinned the finished dream blossom to a long ribbon line. It fluttered in the breeze, just above the original paper rose she'd once handed him in the park. Tyler looked at Mia. "We came full circle." She leaned into him. "No, we made something new." At sunset, Ruby led them to the bench under the wisteria trellis, her favorite spot. "Remember this place?" she asked. Tyler nodded. "First time I sat here, a paper flower changed everything." Ruby reached into her backpack. "I made one more." She handed it to Mia, a soft pink bloom, delicate, trimmed with gold ink. Mia unfolded it slowly. Inside, 5 words. "Thank you for choosing us." Tears welled in her eyes. "Ruby." "You gave me Dad," Ruby whispered. "You let me hope." Tyler wrapped them both in his arms. Across the garden, families packed up, kids waved goodbye, and light flickered in the handmade lanterns Ruby had helped hang. The scent of lavender drifted on the wind. Tyler stood, holding the pink flower between his fingers. He walked to the front gate, where a small frame had been mounted. It held a single photo, the 3 of them beneath a canopy of petals, laughing. Below it, an etched quote, "Every petal held a promise. Every promise led us home." He set the pink flower beneath it, anchoring it in place. As night fell, Ruby curled beside Mia on a garden bench. Tyler joined them. No speeches, no cameras, just the soft rustle of the paper petals in the breeze and the warmth of something earned. Not built in code, not bought in stocks, but folded in love and sealed with truth.